co-chair of a task force of the UN Millennium Project. Actually, the task force is a Science, Technology and Innovation Task Force. So the task force report, you can download it from this link. So our task force actually was convened by Kofi Annan under Professor Jeffrey Sachs. Our task force, the STI task force, we recommend that for developing country, you must take 2 steps. First is build inclusive and comprehensive infrastructure. And this infrastructure is everything, not just hard roads and bridges and all, but ICT, housing, educational facilities and all that. But coupled with that, you must actually build small and medium enterprises in your own country, because they are those that provide employment for the young people. Now the MDGs will be replaced by the Sustainable Development Goals, which will be next year, starting next year, 2016 to the year 2030. And you see that there are 17 goals. I just list them out for you, and they are very comprehensive, the goals. So there's a link that you can actually download and look at the goals. But not only there are 17 goals, but there are also 169 targets that is associated with each of the goals, not in all, 169 in all. So the SDGs are very comprehensive. It addresses all the problems of poverty, disease, health, and everything else. And it is actually, for the developing country, it is a recipe, a menu for developing country to follow. You pick your priority and try to achieve the SDGs by 2030. But the most important thing about the SDG is that it boldly proclaims the end of poverty global poverty by 2030. Now the definition of global poverty now, the line is those living below 1.25 US dollars a day. That below that line is the absolute poor. But if the SDG said that the world can actually eradicate the absolute poor by 2030. So this is, to me, a very hopeful message. Now, the transformation from the silo-like and government-centric MDG to the very comprehensive SDGs, to me, is because of a dramatic rise of the South. So I actually basically think that the most striking examples of this rise of the South, of course, is China, the Asian tigers, and also ASEAN countries like Malaysia, Singapore, and others, which are in the Asia-Pacific region. So I myself think that South-South cooperation for achieving the SDGs will be through like BRICS institutions, like the BRICS Development Bank, the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, and regional economies, that economic community, which are in the South, like ASEAN, like the East African Economic Community, the West African Economic Community, and the Mercosur in South America. And they will be the principal engines for South countries to achieve the SDGs. Actually, of particular relevance to my talk this morning is actually the SDG number 9, build resilient infrastructure, promote inclusive and sustainable industrialization, and foster innovation. I would like to actually stress that infrastructure, the development, is linked to industrialization through the SMEs, and also innovation, which are through the SMEs in your own country. You see. So I think as an engineer, I'm very encouraged that it is now universally accepted that infrastructure development is the foundation for economic and social development of any country, particularly a developing country. But I would like you to note that in all the discussion and the consultation that arrived at the 17 SDGs, there is no mention, although it mentioned about the importance of infrastructure development, there's no mention of the need to maintain the infrastructure system, installations and facilities in good repair and working order. The industry that is, of course, intimately connected with infrastructure development is the construction industry. So I want to guide you through the construction industry. The first, of course, is the global outlook. And this one, I took the statistics actually from a UK government report. See? So you can download this. But the government report in UK suggests that, you know, the global construction market will grow by 70% by 2025. And the global construction industry is set to grow at 4.3% per annum until 2025. And it will be concentrated in emerging economy, basically South countries. This one, I obtained it from a US database, and you can see that the construction industry is actually a great part of the GDP. You can see that it used to be before the global financial crisis, the construction is 9% of GDP. That say 2006, but because of the global financial crisis, it has gone down to 5% of the GDP in 2011. In 2012, the global GDP amounted to about 72.6 trillion US dollars. So if we take the forecast of the UK government report that the construction will grow at 4.3%, then the annual turnover will still be 3.1 trillion US dollars a year until 2025, according to the UK forecast. And I think that UK is not alone among countries to want to get a slice of this very juicy construction pie. The construction outlook in the developed world. I want to say that the developed world has turned away from the construction manufacturing, the hard aspects of economic growth, to service industry. And a lot of their own infrastructure has been sold, whether it's companies like Westinghouse, which is a very famous company in the electric power industry, and then like utilities like in UK, water, electric power has been broken up and sold to foreign concerns, you see. So I feel that without the support of their manufacturing base, they cannot compete in the overseas construction market against giants like the Chinese. In the developed world, their infrastructure is very old and also in need of modernization, in need of renewal. But the developed countries suffer from what I call a surfeit of democracy, too democratic. So every infrastructure project is subject to repeated public hearing. And you know what's the result? The result is they delay the project because they don't want it in my own backyard. So many projects are delayed many times, and then the capital costs increase and many times. And the other thing, of course, is that their governments are short-term. They are subject to repeated elections. I think this is relevant that you are having the elections here today. And so they've got many twists and turns on investment investment on infrastructure. Infrastructure projects, as a government change, is delayed or abandoned, and then the next government comes along and then it's resurrected. So I think that because of this, I think that the infrastructure development in the developed world will have to depend on construction companies and cooperation from the developing world, especially China. As a striking example, President Obama, for this year's U.S. budget of $4 trillion US dollars, he wants to devote actually merely 478 billion on transportation and infrastructure over 6 years. But according to the New York Times, because both houses of Congress are now controlled by Republicans, and President Obama wants to raise taxes on the rich for infrastructure development, it will not be able to pass the Congress for this. Now, I want to now talk about construction outlook in China and in Asia. I think there's no doubt that in global construction, the country that bestrides the world like a colossus is China. And